So it's a struggle, man. Like sometimes I've watched people get hurt, and I went out back and cried. Like when you're making matches and people get hurt or whatever, and they're right in front of you, knocked out, and it's a hard thing to watch, man. Knowing when you're responsible for it a little bit. And
what's the most efficient path to victory against this particular opponent?
He's dropping off for the choke here. We could see the finish. It's looking tight. Tight as Alpra.
Welcome to the Everyday Jiu Jitsu Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kwan. The Everyday Jiu Jitsu Podcast is everything you need to know about Jiu Jitsu. Today I have a special guest, Mr. Clarke from Fight League Atlantic. Welcome to the show, Kat.
welcome. Thanks.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We've been chatting for about 20 minutes, and then I'm like, it's not fucking recording. Oh, no. Anyways, but we were having a good conversation. We'll get back into it. Let's start again. Kat, who are you?
Yeah, so one of the co-owners of Fight League Atlantic here on the east coast of Canada in Nova Scotia, a little town here in northern Nova Scotia. Been doing jiu-jitsu out here since 2009 under my club Pictou Canada Jiu-Jitsu, and my coach is Jared McIntosh. Got my black belt in 2019 and been suffering and struggling in the martial arts and jiu-jitsu promotion world ever since.
Let's get right into it. Well, first of all, why do they call you Kat? Your name is Derek.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. It started when I first started training. Some of them were having trouble taking me down, and when they would try to take me down, I'd end up on like one finger or just in a really weird position and be able to kind of get myself back up. I guess that was the thing. They struggled taking me down, and then more importantly, I almost died twice. So I got hit by lightning, and then I got hit by an 18-wheeler head on. So.
Holy shit. I didn't know that.
Both of those things between that, they're like, you have 9 lives, you balance, and it just kind of all came together like that. So it's very few people call me that, but mostly my club. And then earlier in the Submission Series Pro days, a lot of people knew me that way. So.
Yeah, by the way, guys, I don't think I said this. Sorry, I'm just all scrambled from the misrecording. Guys, if you want to support the show, check the links in the bottom. Yeah, so that's crazy. I didn't know that you had those near-death experiences. There's been 2 near-death experiences that I've had with 18-wheelers. One of them, I was on the Portman Bridge, and like there was a car that just came to a stop around the corner, and I was like, fuck, this is the middle of the bridge, and I had nowhere to go. There's cars whizzing next to me, and okay, I guess we'll stop. And I'm in a car I'm not driving, I'm with my buddies, and like we look in the rear view mirror, and this fucking semi's coming right at us from behind. I'm like, fuck, and like the guy's leaning on the horn. There's nowhere for us to go. We're against the wall, and then the semi just turns and just goes into the other lane. Like, man, we all would have just been sandwiched right there.
100%. Yeah, they're terrifying, man. Fuck.
I had another situation. It would have been about, it was right before COVID happened. I guess it was like 4 years ago. I was in my car getting off the highway, and there was, again, just like a random bunch of cars backed up on the exit. And so I'm pulling over and like I'm waiting for my turn. There's a pickup in front of me. I look behind me again, 18-wheeler just coming at me. I'm like, that 18-wheeler's not stopping in time. Like, and then you just, in your mind, you got to make a split-second decision. Do I just stay here? I had nowhere to go. Do I just stay here, or do I try to turn into the next lane and get out of the way? And I started to turn, and then I was like, no, this is a bad idea. And I just stayed there. And I'm like, hey, whatever happens, happens. And the semi just swerved out of the way and just nicked the back corner of my car, like just nicked it. Not even a lot of damage, but nicked it. And then fucking just went flying past me. It smacked into another semi. Nobody felt there was no injuries, and the trucks were fine, but like he's down there like 200 yards where he finally was able to stop. And I'm just like right after that happened, I was literally like screaming hysterically, laughing after that moment. And the guy in the pickup in front of me who stopped, he gets out, he's like, hey, are you okay? I'm like, like screaming in my car, white knuckling the steering wheel. My heart is just fucking.
It is, yeah, man. I don't know, like
Shit's crazy.
it is. They like I don't have the balls to like I can barely drive my little car, like let alone to drive one of those big things, man. Like especially with everyone's attention span, like they're definitely a professional. Some of these guys, men and women who drive long distances like hour, but like I don't know, like it's dangerous for sure.
Yeah, it really is. I actually hate driving. I think car accidents are like the scariest thing ever.
Yeah.
And you know, I got two kids, and I always think about like the day that they learn to drive. It's like terrifying for a parent, right? And I'm thinking like, you know, what if they just get hit by a drunk driver? What if someone runs a red light or a semi smacks into them? And I think the best thing for a new driver is just to always be aware around you, right?
Yeah.
Like if I had looked in my rearview mirror a little bit earlier and seen that truck was coming, I could have pulled off to the side of the shoulder a little bit more, had a little bit more room. I could have done something maybe a little bit different, but
Mm-hmm.
you kind of just turn your brain off sometimes when you drive, and then you'll miss those little things that could mean life or death.
100%, man. I pay attention to everything. Like
Yeah.
I'm watching the other lane more so than I'm watching my own lane. I don't have a radio on when I drive. My phone's away. Like it's fuck that. I'm not taking those chances anymore.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that you're suffering in the fight promotion business. First of all, how long do you run Fight League Atlantic? You're a co-owner, you said?
Yeah, co-owner, and yeah, I run the day-to-day operation of the business and the events and the pay-per-view and the whole thing of it. So it yeah, it's I started in 2014, our first event in jiu-jitsu, like going back to when you competed for us in Submission Series Pro. That was our first event, was January 2014, January 15th, 2014. So just past our 10-year mark of me promoting shows, and did a lot of jiu-jitsu
Is that
shows. And
is that is that the one Tazo one?
no, the first one was actually the very first one we did. So Kent Peters went against Gavin Tucker. The main event was Jonathan Satava. He came
Oh yeah.
and competed against Kyle Sanford, a local guy and a local legend out these parts. And then the co-main event was Munch. Manchester came out and competed against Presley.
Nice.
So that was,
Yeah. I've fought Satava before. He's fucking good, man. He's super good.
he is really
Uh,
good. Yeah. So are you though.
oh, thanks. Yeah, I've been getting some PRP injections and taking some time off, trying to heal old injuries. I'm hoping to compete in the next couple of months. I need to lose about 10 pounds, but I would like to compete again. Um. So okay, spill the tea. Why are you suffering as a fight promoter? What's going on?
You know what? It's just a hard business. It's an incredibly hard business in Canada. It's just become super difficult. Obviously, like I always look at it and I tell people a lot in our business, it's like it's a regulated business. So it's no different than like a liquor inspector would come into a bar and tell you how to run things. So for us, we have to really follow a lot of rules. And in Canada,
Yeah.
we fucking love rules in Canada and blue and red tape and every other kind of color tape that they can throw at you. So it's ridiculous. And then on top of that, the way that our country, I'm not scared to voice it either, the way that our country is being run right now, the things that people are having to deal with and the costs that are being passed, like out here on the East Coast, man, things are outrageously expensive, and they are everywhere.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's madness, and so when you're one of these sports like us, like we're a small business for one that gets zero help from anybody. But on top of that, like when you're a small business, every one of your fans are all using income that they might have or may not. Like they have to afford groceries and power bills and car bills and all, like everything that comes first. So the
Oh
more
yeah.
the harder you make it for our business, or any small business, and the people who kind of come to support the events. It's hard. And on top of that, it's it's like I always say to explain to people, like the way it is for us. It's like imagine you're going to a hockey tournament. I keep getting this bump up on my phone, so my apologies for putting my hand up there. But like if you're going to a hockey tournament, you already know who you're going to play. Or if you play in the NHL, you're a professional hockey player. You have to play If you're in the Vancouver Canucks, you know this year you're playing the Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames. Every year you're playing them 10 times, or whoever's in your division, you have to play them. It's the way it is. But in fighting, that's not the way it is. You don't have to fight anybody at all. It's like if you think about a hockey tournament, it's like I gotta run it. I gotta convince the teams to fight one another, come here, compete, and then run that whole show from there. And it's super difficult, whether it's injuries or flights or anything.
Weigh-ins,
yeah. That's people missing weight like that. Like that is a big problem, because when people miss weight, it's hard on us, because we're losing flight costs, we're losing, sometimes we're paying guys even if they don't fight, and more importantly, it's the fans who get pissed off, because they're like, man, I bought tickets, I wanted to see this person fight, and it happens over and over again. Then they're like, well, I'm not going to go buy $100 tickets if I don't know that these people are going to even fight, right? So it's a little that there's so many different moving parts when it comes to this business that it makes it difficult. So yeah.
Battlefield Fight League already solved this problem you're having. They just bring a bunch of Mexicans across the border. They always show up. They'll always fight. It seems like everybody I know in Battlefield they're just fighting Mexican people now.
Yeah, it's we've been doing that a little bit too, but Canada actually just changed the rules here in Canada now. Whereas if you're in Canada and you're coming from Mexico, you need to get a visa now. So the visa takes upwards of 60 days, costs a couple $100, and a lot of them aren't willing to do it. So it's making things a little difficult. I know, Jay, I don't know if this I noticed in the upcoming BFL fight, like Tremaine's fighting Martin there, and it seems like a lot of local guys are fighting local guys, it seems anyway. But I know the last card, it was definitely a lot of Mexican athletes, and your young stud there you got at your club too. He fought a guy from Mexico, didn't he? Posner.
Yeah, and Posner, and he's gonna fight another one, Briones, on May 9th.
Nice.
And I'm pretty sure he's gonna smoke this guy. Like, I'm comfortable saying that. Adam Posner's grappling is so fucking insanely good, and his grappling is even better when it's an MMA situation. You know what I mean?
It's just stopped.
Like when it stopped recording.
Yeah.
I'm recording.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Let's just keep going, because it says to me it's recording.
Okay.
Yeah, like when I roll with Adam in a jiu-jitsu situation, I feel okay, because I know kind of where I can exploit things and I can get away with a lot of stuff. I can play guard and not have an issue, but like taking the kid down is basically impossible unless you're like over 230. And he fights at 170. Like he'll wrestle with guys that are 220 and like take them down. He's insanely good on the wall. His timing with the way he blends strikes and takedowns are insane. If he gets in on your hips or on your leg, you're getting taken down. Like it's fucking insane, dude. The guy's kind of like a Rory McDonald or a GSP, in that it's just like supreme wrestling for MMA. He's not even a wrestler by trade, but he's able to just dominate the grappling exchange in any of these fights. And I watch the other fighters in BFL. There's like one or two guys, I think, in the 170 division that could actually give him problems in Vancouver. But other than that, I think he's just going to dominate his way all to the UFC, honestly.
Nice. That's good to hear, man.
I guess he's 5-0 now, and he's got every fight he's won by submission or he's got one TKO as well. So it's gonna be insane.
How old is he? He's only young, right?
Yeah, 19.
He's like Drake Farrell that we have out here, and Cam Nelson, like a couple of young guys, welterweights, man. Like it's crazy to see how good these kids are so young. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Like
we were discussing on the episode that didn't get recorded just before we start recording this about how the resources that fighters have nowadays, it's just the information is readily available. It's seemingly endless, and it's free. A lot of it. You just go to YouTube, and we were talking about how I kind of revamped my hockey game when I rejoined hockey a couple of years ago, and how I had sort of like tried to relearn skills of a sport that I've been playing since I was, a teenager, early teenager. And I was saying there's just so much information out there, and I could just type in like, oh, okay, I want to learn how to get a better snapshot. I want to learn how to play better offense, play in the offensive zone. I want to learn how to break out of my zone and more efficiently. Like, you can just type this in and watch videos and tutorials. Whereas when I was a kid, if your coach wasn't super legit or you weren't going to hockey camps, there's really no way that you could get information like that. And so nowadays, you had mentioned as well previously that you teach a kids class, right? And these kids are starting at like, some of them as young as 3 even, or 5 is when they really start Jiu Jitsu, right?
Yeah.
And now the amount of knowledge that people can possess, the information out there is just like so good. And the level of these athletes, by the time they get to the age that I started, they're basically like black belts. They could be black belts by the time they're 20.
Yeah.
So this information explosion is fucking intense. I'm pretty sure you've noticed that as well.
For sure, like in every facet of it. It's like at this point, I'm just like, why do we even send kids to school anymore? What's the point? What's the point in all of this? Let's just watch them. Like, tell them to go to YouTube and learn everything, like everything that's actually real. You want to learn how to change a light bulb. You want to learn how to wire your house. Here, go to YouTube. Like, you want to fix your car. Like, want to learn how to make a budget. You want to learn how to eat properly. There's a lot of bad shit on there too, but like, there's what I mean. If I was a teacher, I'd be just playing this video. Here's what happened in Spain in 1680 or whatever they have to teach them, right? Like, it's, to me, like, there's so much knowledge out there that we really ignore, to be completely honest. Like, it's like, when it comes to that kind of world, I guess, kids, like, they have, like you said, they have so much at their fingertips now. Like, we just didn't have that before. Like, when I grew up, I remember looking in my basement, and there was those encyclopedias under A, B, C, D, whatever. And jiu-jitsu, I'll go check it out. And a little thing like that with 2 guys in a gi, or I don't, Now, like you said, there's information overload, and it's quite impressive. And if you want to be something, like your world's your oyster, really. Like, you can, like you say, you can be a black belt so quickly. You train 2-3 times a day, and so many techniques to learn, and the kids themselves are just animals too. Like, they're just the ones who want it, really want it bad, it seems. And yeah, I don't.
Do you want out? Are you looking to get out of the fight promotion business, or what?
No. Like, we're going strong out here. It's a competitive thing. Like going back to, like, again, like the red tape that we deal with here in this country, like it's not just like as easy as when, like, right now I'm literally trying to find a fight right now as we're in the middle of this podcast, like for a fight that fell out 2 times already this week. You get the fight matched, you book the flights, and then the guy pulls out 24 hours later. So it's like another $1,200 out of my pocket that I just bought a flight for somebody, like, with no repercussion on that end. And that to me is the problem a little bit, because it's like, I know we all talk about how fighters have it tough and shit, but everyone always shits on the promoter, and man, that gets long in the tooth, to be completely honest. Like, and no one really sticks up for promoters. Like, it's like we notice it a lot all the time. Like, here, like, when fighters come in from away and they compete, like, they're always so grateful, and thanks so much, excuse me, Fight League Atlantic, for the opportunity, or whatever. And it's like, sometimes you just don't, like, we have a lot of amazing athletes and people here too, but sometimes, like, you just don't know how good you got it until it's gone. You know what I mean? Like, situation, it's like, we can easily go back to fighting in a fucking Legion with 2 pole lights if you want, like, easily, but like, it's even like when we did jiu-jitsu shows, man. Like, it's I think a lot of times just people don't really respect or understand the amount of work that goes into giving these platforms. But yeah, it's a hard business overall. Like, I gotta we'll go back to, like, Tremaine and the Savoie thing. Like, man, like,
Yeah,
like, it's like, hey, like, it sucks for everybody involved, but Christian Tremaine, like, I love the guy. He's a great guy. He's a class act. He was honest about it, and it is what it is. Some things happen. He's not a guy that happens to all the time, right? But I also think, completely honestly, like, and I told him the same thing, like, everyone's cutting too much weight. Like there needs to be more
Oh yeah.
divisions. So we're going to start it, and like sooner than later, we're going to start going 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, because those are the actual weight classes. The UFC doesn't follow them, but those are the actual weight classes when it comes to amateur or mixed martial arts professional. ABC rule set, like that's their actual weight classes. So I think it would just make everybody's life a little bit easier. So
Do you have standards like the athlete must not cut more than this percentage of weight? Like you're limiting the amount of weight that they can cut to keep them more fighting at a natural weight class, or is it just you can cut as much as you want?
yeah, it's pretty much you show up at 3 o'clock for the weigh-in, and you know that's so we have the scale open. The commissions will open it for 2 hours prior to the official weigh-in. So say the weigh-in's 3 o'clock, the scale's open from 1 till 3. They can test their weight, kind of thing, and then they're watching though when when you test your weight, so they know. And if you're a certain percentage, like for example Tremaine, like he weighed in early, and then it was like, okay, you can't lose more than 5% of your body weight at this point forward to make that weight because it's dangerous,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
so those are the kind of things that, and they're getting more on it. Like people probably didn't pay attention to it in the last UFC that they had in California, but that's Andy Foster, and that's like a big area for the UFC. And they what they did is they actually took the fighters' weights at weigh-in before weigh-in, and then they took their weight before they went in the cage. And they're going to start doing that more and more and more and more, and testing people and saying, listen, if you're going to lose more than this body weight, you're losing half your purse, or that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
it's important, because at the end of the day, the promotion of the sport's hurting because of it. It really is.
Yeah. And fighters legit die from that. Like it happens almost yearly. I hear about fighters dying during weight cuts, which is super crazy and sad.
It is sad. It's sad. Like I was sitting there doing doing the friggin' pre-show. Like I'm sitting there recording my pre-show, and Christian's struggling over here, dealing with what he was dealing with, and they went to the hospital, and everything ended up okay. But you're also young. Like I'm 43 years old now, guys, and like as you get older, things change. Like it's like my body feels like shit compared to when I was 33. From like so at the end of the day, we have to all be responsible. I think a little bit on our end too, to be like, look, we can't be setting up these athletes. Like that's their athletes. They want to go in there and win the fight and push their body. That's their mentality. But it's my job as a promotion to keep them safe and do it the right way. I truly believe that. So yeah, it's I think there's a lot of ways that it can be fixed, but I think also a lot of fighters just need to start fucking like just it's at the end of the day, just like start fighting at your right weight class. Like
Yeah. Don't try and cut so much just to get that edge over your opponent, right? Sometimes it backfires on you and your body starts shutting down. Even if you do make it to the fight, it can have big effects, especially in MMA. You're getting punched in the brain. The brain is kind of the first place where the water comes out of. It can affect your brain the most, right? Aside from your other organs. And then you go in there and your cardio's bad, and it could be really challenging. I think I've never, so with my frame, I'm like 5'8", kind of thick around the midsection, like a stockier build. For me, for my height, I should be fighting at most lightweight in jiu-jitsu, and at most people would be fighting at feather. I've never been able to make feather, and I couldn't make lightweight anymore just by being like in my, I'm over the hill now. I'm mid-30s, like
yeah,
I'm a middleweight now,
yeah,
and I'm a short middleweight. But it's just why would I cut
yeah,
to a weight class when I know I'm going to be feeling like shit? Like for me, it's just not worth it. I know also I won't enjoy the process. Like I don't go into competitions being like, I have to win this. This is what defines me. I'm a competitor. It's like, no, I want to go in and have fun, and I want to have fun during training. I want to feel strong during training. I don't want to like starve myself and not enjoy this experience, because if I'm not enjoying it, I'm just not going to compete, right?
yeah. Well, and that's so well said. And I think again, like we were talking earlier about how much content that's out there, and that can be a bad thing too, right? Because like a lot of these people now see like the B team or all these other people and up there, and they're like, I want to be like them, which is great, but it's also like fuck, like man, like it's like being an NHL player. like 1% of the people who play, and I don't know the stat you hear it, but like 1% of the people who play in like the Canadian, the CHL, the Western Quebec, and in OHL make it to the NHL. Like 1%. Like you have to be so good, and like I think sometimes like with all this content, it's great, but it also like some people are just so goddamn unrealistic, man. It's like just go out there and have fun, have a good time. Stop putting so much pressure on yourself to be a champion or be a world champion of blue belt or whatever. Like just enjoy the process a little bit. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. How did you get into fight promotion? Curious.
Well, like I guess so. There was nothing going on around here, like for jujitsu, at all. Like my coach, and we always kind of spoke about it after I started training. Like, because the first one was 14, so I think I was a purple belt or blue belt. Like at that point, 5 years in, blue or purple belt, I think it was. And there was some local tournaments, like smaller local. Like my business partner John Foster, he ran the Bio Open. Like it's a great story actually because like we again, talking about promoters or other people, like a lot of people are like, they say they're about community or they talk about it and stuff, but man, like, the proof's in the pudding, right? And John and I, like, it's a big thing. Like, he ran a jujitsu tournament. I was doing jujitsu tournaments, and we always work together. Here's the date, let's work around each other's dates and work together and kind of tried to build the scene together and always had a lot of fun doing it and build camaraderie. But, so we started doing that, and then I just got into the shows because no one was doing it. Funny story, actually. No one was doing these shows anywhere. Metamoris just did one, and then who else was doing one? Maybe five grappling. I think maybe Ricardo Amandolina there was doing them. And anyway, what's his name? Oh my God, AJ Azagram reached out, and they wanted to buy us as a promotion because we were doing these shows on the East Coast in Canada. It was after, because the first one we did was Satava, and then the second one we did in Toronto. And the main event was Tom DeBlas versus Joao Assis. That was the main event of the show.
I remember that.
Yeah, and the co-main event was, I think it was Edwin Najmi was on there. I think who else was on? I don't know who else was on there too, but Gordon sitting in the corner was hilarious, man. Like, it was just like, I think about it now, and it's just so funny how the times have changed.
When he was like unknown?
Totally unknown. Like, we sat in the lobby all night. Myself, him, Tom DeBlas, and Dan Vanderland's one of our commentators, and just talked all night. And like just shot the shit kind of thing. But he was just like a skinny kid, like a purple belt at that time on the come up, right? And
pre-juice.
Yeah, exactly, definitely pre everything. But then like it was just I was so naive, man, of what I was doing. Like I was so fucking naive about like what fight promotion even is or the sport and how the business is. Like at that time, when I went into Toronto, I had to pay the Ontario Jiu-Jitsu Association a fee to do the event up there as like a sanctioning body. So I went up there and I had to pay, even though they're all members of the association already, I had to pay another $50 per person or whatever it was because I was an out of town guy. So it was like, anyway, it was just ended up being a ridiculous event, and I didn't know. Like Tom DeBlas, obviously he's a half guard guy. Like he was sitting pulling half guard a couple times, and Joao Assis would pull half guard, and they were just stuck in this 50-50 the whole time. And like halfway through the match, I was like, "Can you guys just stand up, please, and do something? Just stand up." Like there's a famous bit, like not famous, but like my buddies make fun because they're like, my hands are up and like it's to my back, and they're like, "I wonder what you were saying," because they knew what match it was from, and I'm like, man, it was like I paid a lot of money for that match, and it was like fucking hard to watch, to be honest. Like it was just big, but again, going back to when two guys are so good, they just nullify one another, right? And that's exactly what happened. And yeah, so it was funny, man. But like it was like all along, like the whole fight promotion thing, it's came a long way, like from those early days of doing jiu-jitsu shows and coming out in the West Coast jokes and putting up athletes in that hotel that you were staying at. Like it was, things have came a long way in our business, but it's still a very, very difficult business with a lot of moving parts. And we still love doing the jiu-jitsu events out here. Like I said, we do 2 a year. They're called like submission kumite. So they're like in the cage, which to me is a lot more exciting. because it adds just a little bit more of an element. Like a lot of times, you know, in those events, you end up getting out of bounds, or you have to stop, or you're just not finishing the takedown the way you would, or whatever. So we love it, and we'll continue to do it as long as the community wants them. So hopefully we can get you out here.
Yeah. Do you get nervous before you do an event?
Yeah, I do, quite a bit actually. It's like there's been events that I've actually cried, like because it's so much. Like we've had a couple events that, but our second event, we got shut down by the pandemic. So a week or two weeks, it was about 10 days before the event happened. They shut us down in Nova Scotia, but New Brunswick was willing to do it. So we had to move completely one province to another, and we actually got the event to happen. And then on top of that, all the tickets go through my phone. So it's not like a normal event venue where everything is like, because of the pandemic, everyone didn't have staff. So we came up with there's an app, Show Pass, and you build the ticket map yourself. And that's what we did. So all the tickets come off my phone. So when I'm sitting there cage side and everything starts at like 6 o'clock, all the doors are coming and they're just scanning the phone on their app, and on my phone it's just like ting 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 ting, like people coming through. So I'm always just like, oh my god, please work, please work, please work. Like we have no customer service department, you know. Like when something happens with a pay-per-view, they email us and they're like blah blah blah, and I send them a message back like, oh, I wasn't expecting it to be you. I'm like, well, we don't have anybody to answer this kind of stuff. Like it's such a small business, so there's so much to do and there's a lot of hats to wear, but it's the high of it, Matt. It's like you like competing or whatever. It's like for me, it's not. I don't know. It's like how do I go back to a regular job now? It's the problem. It's like
Hmm.
it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I
What's the
literally,
bet? Yeah.
it's
Go ahead.
like I organized. Like John and I say at every event when we're sitting there, we're like, what are we doing? We literally just organized this event where two guys are in there in their underwear fighting people in front of everyone buying drinks. This is insane, but it's pretty cool too.
Yeah. What's the best part of it?
You know what? Like, and I said it all along is like seeing like at the end of the day, man, like seeing people capitalize on what they want to do. Like if you want to be a fighter and you don't have a platform, it kind of sucks. If you want to be a grappler and you don't have a platform, like jujitsu almost saved my life. You know, like at the end of the day, that's the old classic cliche line, but man, it's so good for your mind and your mental health and just your social and everything about it. You know, it's just a really it's given me a lot. But like, there's been a lot of athletes, like meeting people like yourself, and just so many people and stories that you've met around the world. It's been a great run, man. I love that aspect of it. Like, it's like when you go to these events, and I'm sure it's like that in Vancouver too. Like maybe not because it's a bigger city type of environment, but like when you go to a tournament here, at one of our events, everybody's like coaches or whatever. Even though you're competing on a different team, it's like an all-star game. Everybody's in a good mood and happy to see one another because it's our day. Like we're all a bunch of dorky grapplers, so now it's our day to be cool, right? So it's I don't know. It's a great vibe out here, man. People love it when they come out and compete. That's for me is that's the key. Like make people happy.
Yes. You had mentioned like you know, Tom DeBlas and Zhao Assis sitting in 50-50 for 10 minutes or whatever. When you're matchmaking MMA or jiu-jitsu, how important is it to consider things like styles, charisma of the fighters, you know? And does how far does fighter charisma take them aside from their abilities on the mat? So like how, you know, like a classic example would be like a Chael Sonnen, who is
Yeah,
just like so exciting to watch on the mic. And then when you watch him fight, it's like he's usually just like wrestle fucking people.
yeah,
He's not even the you know, I love Chael, but like he made a real name for himself being an entertainer and you know kind of having that like pro wrestling persona, that charisma.
yeah.
So like how important is that for you as a matchmaker when you're making matches, and how important is the charisma for fighters who are trying to make their way in grappling or MMA?
It's a great question. That's a great question. Like if anybody doesn't think that charisma sells, then you are insane. Like, we got a kid out here, Ben Leese. He's a young kid. He's phenomenal on the mic. He finished his first 2 amateur fights by like really good finishes. And then he's on the mic. He just gets it. Like, he gets it. And it's not about getting on the mic and say fuck, fuck, fuck. You know, it's like no one wants to hear that. They want to hear you be like a character. Like, make yourself a little bit of a character, but you don't necessarily have to be. Just be yourself. You know, like, and show your attributes and for matchmaking, I don't think like like going back to it, like there's so many moving parts, so it's a lot harder than that. Like for me, it's making fair fights. Like that's the suit. Like we all know what like promotions in the past have done, like in how the sport used to be that way and favored to one promotion, that like teams would put the event on and it'd be 15 guys from one team, and that's understandable. But man, the sport's changed. Like to me, it's like no one wants to come see a 10-second knockout 4 times in a row. Like in my opinion, they want to see a competitive fight, and if the fight ends in the second or third round, great. But they want to see people who are in shape and actually take it serious, and that's a big thing for me. Like we always say out here, if you're a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, then you can apply to fight. If you're not a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, at least, then tell your coach to not even message us, because that shows at least you put at least 2 years of dedication into the sport, and showing your coach like that you're at least capable. But I think like grappling, like I think all of it's important, man. Like having a shtick and just like sticking to it. Like don't be fake. Like I look at these Colby Covington people and I'm like, man, like that is like I wouldn't even give that person a fight. Like you're saying those kind of things, and I'm not Dana White. Like he's different. Like they live in a different country altogether than we live in. And I get it. Like I'm hard like that too, and I would never tell people what to say. But on the other end, it's like, man, like you can't be going and like crossing some of those lines. Like some of those lines are a little bit blurry for me. Like when you're talking about people's wives and stuff, I'm not a super fan of that kind of stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
but again,
So like you're saying, don't just be like, uh, it's not about like who can be the most crude or whatever, but more so like, are you doing it in a tasteful way? Are you being yourself? And are you genuinely entertaining? Right.
yeah,
It's kind of like gladiators, right? Like you got to win the crowd. It's not just about
100%.
winning. It's about developing that crowd presence and sort of winning them.
For sure, especially if you want to be a fighter. Like if you're like, oh, if I want to be a UFC fighter, okay, well the process starts now. If you're amateur fight, if you want people to buy the pay-per-view, and if you want to follow your whole career, not only do you have to win, but you got to make them remember why you're winning. And the big thing I tell all these athletes out here is like back in the day, you had to sell tickets. Like they would literally, that's how promotions always work. They would send you a couple hundred like paper tickets, and you'd drive around the city, or you'd go and sell them and collect the cash, and then on weigh-in day, you'd have to bring the cash, and here's my cash for the tickets. And if you didn't sell them all, you'd owe the money, or you'd have to give the tickets back or whatever. Now, no one has to sell a ticket anywhere at all. It's all online. So it's like, really, like you don't like your job is to train and to fight. So all the market, like the outside stuff is like being taken care of for you in that world. But for me, it's like you should still be out there promoting yourself with those tickets. Maybe even print a fake ticket and take it around with you, or make yourself like the $1 million man, or whatever it happens to be. Like come up with something and make yourself known in the community. Go out and do some charity work in the community. Call the newspaper and be like, hey, I'm an upcoming MMA fighter, and I'm going down to the SPCA and doing a day. Well, how about you come down and get a picture of me or whatever? Like I think there's a lot of room where athletes could do a lot of like self promotion, and it's a lost art. Like it's a lot of promoter. Like look at Sugar Sean, man. Like if you look at it, he's got the fro, and he's got the pink hair. Like those are all things that he on purpose. Like make yourself remembered, right? And stuff. It's not like it's nothing new about it by any means, but I don't know if people are a little more shy. Like it's weird. Like it's weird. They don't want to talk before, but as soon as they get on the mic, they're like fucking fuck. It's like fuck. What? Go say what you need to say beforehand.
Mm-hmm. So you promote jiu-jitsu and MMA. Do you promote any other martial arts like Muay Thai or boxing?
No, no, we think about it out here sometimes, but again, the community, it's a small community. Like I don't think like in Canada, like I don't think people really realize how small the Maritimes are. Like in again, like you're just focused on your own life or whatever, but like the Maritimes is a small place, probably like a 1.5 or 2 million people between like the 3 or 4 provinces, like maybe a little more than that. But you break that down to how many athletes, like we probably have 50 jiu-jitsu clubs here in Nova Scotia alone. The sport's grown like crazy. And now like in jiu-jitsu out here we got like Dana just started a tournament, East Coast Grappling. There's Icon Grappling Championship that Jake McKenzie, he moved back, him and Chad Cox do. Joel and Justice, they
Is
do.
he living back there now?
Yeah, he's got a club there. Yeah. Um, and then Breakthrough Grappling does a tournament. Rogue Grappling does tournaments. Guillotine Grappling does. So there's like lots of tournaments, and that's kind of why we were just like, man, I'm sick of doing these tournaments. Like there's just like enough parents yelled at me that I was like, okay, peace. I'm out of here. No thanks. So that's why we just stopped doing tournaments, man. It was just like a pain in the ass, to be honest. Like we thought MMA might be a little easier, but boy, were we wrong.
Yeah. As a promoter, do you find? I'm sure I know the answer, but do you find that a lot of fighters like they'll pick and choose who they want to fight? They avoid tough fights. It's difficult to get certain fighters fights because they're always more choosy, and then other fighters will be down to fight like anyone.
Well, and it goes back to the situation you just mentioned about BFL and bringing in a lot of Mexican athletes, right? And it's how bad do you want it? I guess is the old saying, right? And they want it bad, so they're willing to fight anybody and come up here and take those fights. Whereas in Canada, we're having a rough time here right now. Like we are, like it's like the scene. It's and then when like all of our promotions, like we're all signing everybody, and like I like to think I have a great relationship with Jay and Daniel from Samurai and Sonny at Unified. Like I try, like man, to me it's a small world. Like we're all gonna die in the future. Like who cares? Like why make it dramatic? Like it's business is one thing, but we should all be honest and working together and for the betterment of the athlete. But with that being said, I think what needs to happen in Canada is that it has to actually have a real proper ranking system between the promotions. And Jay kind of was the one who came up with this idea, and it is a good idea. And all the promotions rank all their athletes together, and then you're forced. It's like, okay, you're number 5, you're number 6. Okay, you're gonna fight. Like you're forced to fight. Then it's like you have to fight because that makes sense. It's in the rankings. Like, but a lot of that goes on for sure. Like people don't want to take fights for whatever reason. Whether I'm not in their mind by any means. I don't know, but it makes it super difficult. It's becoming more difficult. This card that I'm into right now, it's like I said, it's by far the hardest card I've ever had to match, by a long shot, both amateur and pro. Yeah, it sucks. It's a hard sport, man.
Do you see the sport? I can't remember. I think I asked you this in the recording that fucked up. Do you see the sport constantly evolving like you see that in jiu-jitsu? Or is it kind of stagnant right now in terms of like technical development?
Yeah, and I love that question. I think it's a great question because it's funny. Like you notice the development in jujitsu. Like you really can notice it. Like because you look at some of these kids. Look at I don't know, Helena, is that her name? The one from Gordon's.
Oh yeah,
Like
Helena Kravar.
man, like the girl's what, 15, like 16. I don't know how old she is, but she's terrifying. What, like she's terrifying.
Yeah,
Like it's
just
crazy.
fucking up black belts.
Yeah, man, like super, super good, and it's just it's. I love seeing that, but MMA and I think the big problem with it is like and that's where in North America we're really hurting our sports is like in for me to have anyone fight, they have to do like 20 different types of blood work, an EKG, an eye test, uh, um, like a full fit to fight from a doctor, like whatever else goes, the X-ray in their chest, whatever else. Like, and you think you need that in Uzbekistan? Like, not a chance,
Yeah.
man. Like, you can fight every weekend. Go to Nashville, Tennessee. You can fight every weekend, but not in Canada. Like it goes back to the regulation and all. Say what you want, but it's all based on government and what they want to do. Like if you want to be involved and you want to see mixed martial arts grow, then you're going to invest in it. But if you don't, you don't, and it's going to take a slow road. But to me, man, like the harder you make things, that especially for kids, like kids can't compete, they can't do anything at all until they're 19 years old. That's when they can fight amateur MMA. So it's like, how are you going to develop a really good kid that's going to make it to the UFC in Canada when they can only fight? Like it should be steps. Like in amateur MMA out here, you can't punch on the ground at all. There's no there's only body strikes on the ground when they're down. So it's great. It develops your jiu-jitsu until you're 3 fights in. You're aware of the lights. You're aware of your surroundings. 3 fights in, then you can start doing ground and pound to the body, right? Or to the head, sorry, but no elbows or anything like that. But you could even go further with kids, like they do kickboxing and stuff, and just do only body shots. Headgear, full gear. I'm not a proponent in kids getting hit in the head when they're young by any means at all. But I think there's a way to like get them used to the sport as they continuously, because they're going to do it anyway if they're interested. So it's like, why not give them the platform in a safe way? Is how I look at it. But so yeah, I think it's definitely stagnant that way. Like going back to the higher level, like UFC, like we were saying earlier, like the product looks as good as ever, but it's also that like it's almost like F1 or like NASCAR when you're watching a UFC event now. It's like you're just watching the race and like the cars are going around, but it's like if you're a regular person, you're just like, okay, I care who at the end who's going to win the race, but like now, if I turn on the fights on a Saturday night, I'm like, I don't even know who's fighting or care. I'm just watching the fights because they're all so good. Like,
Yeah, I want to get your opinion um as a fight promoter about the amateur rule, because we have that in BC about ground and pound. For me, as somebody who's never competed in MMA, I look at that rule as um I don't want to say the word silly, but I look at it like it kind of is priming the athlete to not have strikes on the ground,
mhm.
which in a way is kind of a different sport altogether if you think about it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, Prime example, one of my students, Harrison, he's a jiu-jitsu ace. He just
Polaris.
fought on the Polaris Grand Prix. He did West Coast trials last weekend, and this guy. So when you're listening, by the way, this is a couple weeks after West Coast trials from this time of this recording. That's why it sounds weird. But he had an MMA fight, and he came in and he was able to take the guy down at will. But he ate a bunch of shots going in every round. Same thing happened. He would take a couple shots, then he'd get on a double, take the guy down. But once you take the guy down, if you can't punch him on the face, he's no longer incentivized to turn and expose his back. He can just sort of stay there and not take a ton of damage. And as long as he doesn't get submitted, he's going to survive the round. And it was just like,
Yeah,
I wonder, okay, if punching to the face was allowed, that would have created a lot of different responses
for
from the
sure.
bottom player and potentially open up submissions and things like that. So you're actually in favor of no ground and pound to the face for amateurs. You think that's a good rule?
Well, it's I'm kind of I'm in the middle. I've had my thoughts on both because as a grappler and a guy who like looks at things from a realistic point of view, I'm like, well, this makes no sense. I'm like, this is kind of, I'm like you. I'm like, this is teaching a bad habit, right? Which a lot of fighters have expressed in the past. Like, this is teaching me a bad habit. Like, even if I'm on my back, it's teaching me to be comfortable, right? Like, like if I'm on my back, I got to be defending and looking how I'm going to sweep or regard or whatever I'm going to do. So I agree with you. But then on the other side, like I look at it from like a safety perspective and like a promoter perspective, like I think about it and I'm like, there's nothing under that. Like, it's a piece of mat and a piece of wood, like with like no give at all, right? So if you're a fighter in there and you're like laying on your back and you got some, but again, it goes back to the matchmaking too, right? Like I think a lot of it is like these, if anybody's sending a guy in there with no jiu-jitsu experience in that rule set, and you can just smash him on the head and there's no give on that canvas and he has no experience, which has happened a lot in the past for sure. I think it's not good, right? But if you get two guys in there, like we had a match out here, Drake Farrell versus Matthew Tarantini, who they fought at FLA 2, and they had strikes on the ground, and it was a really competitive match back and forth. But like they'll do it for certain fighters, if they have that background, but if they don't have the background, they're like, no, they have to like, so if you're like a purple belt fighting like a blue belt in your first fight, they'll probably, or purple belt, they'll probably be like, okay, they're okay to do it. Like the commission, I will say out here, like they're understanding and educated, and they're getting more educated as we go out here, because amateur MMA is only, that's the problem again in Canada. Amateur MMA is only legal in 3 provinces. So it's legal in BC, New Brunswick, and PEI, or in Nova Scotia. So it's comical to me, man, because we don't, like, out of all the places in Canada, we get the least amount of love, and it's like, motherfuckers, we're the one developing all the talent here, literally. We're the 2 provinces that it's legal out here. So now you got these other organizations going on in Canada that they don't deem legal, and it's making it a little difficult for Canada as a whole, right? Because like sometimes they're going under like pankration, but it's like, man, just let these events be legal. Like if I go play hockey, I don't need to provide 28 types of blood and an X-ray if I'm playing for the Kootenay Rockets or whatever the team. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy overkill, I think, in this country, like what they make these athletes do. So.
Mm-hmm. What would you change about the unified MMA rule system if there was anything you could change, or do you like it the way it is?
It's a great question. I've had a lot of arguments about like officiating and judging. Obviously, that's a topic in mixed martial arts that comes up a lot. I would like to see live scoring in between rounds. That's one thing I would really like to see.
So you know who's winning?
Yeah. I think it's fair for the judges. I think it's fair for everybody in general. The fans, the judges, the athletes. Like, I think it's I think that's a big thing for sure. And I know they are working on this summer. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Like, talking about like taking away the grounded opponent thing. So that's another, the 3 points of contact.
What do you mean taking it away? Like you're going to be allowed to tee off on that guy anyways?
Basically, if you don't have the 3 points of contact, or I think it's 2. Let me look. Let me think back. Eric McCracken,
I think it's 3 points.
It's 3 points now, but I think they're trying to take it away. I just read it 2 days ago. Eric McCracken, a lawyer, combat sports lawyer out in Victoria, actually, he posted on his thread. So they passed it. That and 12-6 elbows. The same thing.
Well, 12-6 elbows is, I think, pretty stupid rule.
And they're going to try to bring it back.
Oh, they're going to bring it back?
They're going to vote on it.
Isn't it?
It's like, what?
Isn't it? What do you mean bring it back? Isn't it still part of the game?
No, it's illegal right now.
Yeah, but no, are you saying they're trying to take away 12-6 elbows?
They're going to make it legal again.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, you do think that's good. Okay.
Do you think it's super dangerous?
I don't think it's super dangerous. I just think it's like one of those things that may cause a lot of blood. So, buy a lot.
How do you feel about elbows in general?
They hurt.
Well, the whole thing is like there's more of a chance that the fight will get stopped due to a cut. But man, elbows are super legit and appropriate at times. So I think they're, but I'm a guy who I also like I like knees to the head on the ground too, because I don't do MMA. So why would I not like that?
And that's the thing, Matt. It's a fight, right? So it's like I don't know, man. Like you look at Street Yard and Street Beefs or whatever, all these other fights that go on, man. It's like or those scraps in Russia that were popular there at one time. They were meeting in the warehouse and just like kicking each other in the heads. Like, I get it, but like it's like when you come to our events, I tell people all the time. I'm like, they're like, oh, I don't like the blood or whatever. I'm like, come to the event. And as soon as they come, they're like, that was incredible. I'm like, exactly, man. People love fighting. Like it gets people going, and nobody, like for the most part, 95% of people, knock on wood, are walking out of that cage in okay form. Like they have some bruises or whatever, but most of them are feeling all right, like within a couple weeks. So it's like let them test themselves a little bit, but I don't know. I think the more regulations you put on it, the more it's going to be hard for sure in this country to promote a lot of stars and continue to building the sport the way we need to build it. So.
So did you say they're trying to add like kicks to the head now when you have 2 points on the ground instead of 3?
No, I don't think kicks. I think it's just more so like punches, elbows, knees. I could be wrong.
Because you can punch to the head if they have 3 points on the ground.
Yeah, I think you can't knee and
Can't knee or kick.
kick. Yeah, so I think and again, don't quote me on any of this. I just saw a post like 2 days ago, so I don't want to act like I know what I'm talking about at all. But Eric McGracken made the post. So supposedly they passed it, like the unanimous, like the commission, the ABC Council. So now what happens is all the other commissions actually have to vote on it and whether they're going to accept it or not, is I believe the way Eric wrote it on his page. So I'm going to go back and verify that before I talk about it again.
How do you feel about soccer kicks?
It depends on, like, the thing is, to me, it's like protect yourself at all times is one thing. And it's also like if you're getting a shin to the head, like, I don't know.
Getting fucked up.
Yeah, you're getting fucked up. But you're getting fucked up with someone roundhouses you too. Like, you're getting fucked up regardless if you're getting kicked in the head, any which way. So it's like, it's not. I don't think, like, again, it's like I'm torn because I'm like, some ways I'm like, I don't like seeing people getting hurt and the concussions, and then the other times I'm like, it's not my job to worry about that. I'm not, I didn't sign the contract to get in the cage and fight there. So it's like, at the end of the day, if we're giving you the platform, it's sometimes, so it's a struggle, man. Like, sometimes I've watched people get hurt, and I've went out back and cried. Like, when you're making matches and people get hurt or whatever, and they're right in front of you knocked out, and it's a hard thing to watch, man, knowing when you're responsible for it a little bit. And when you're in a small community, it takes its toll for sure. So it's, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on that one.
What's your favorite grappling rule set? What do you think is the ideal grappling rule set?
I would like to say the submission kumite invitational.
What is that, sub only?
Yeah, so we do submission only. So it's we do the rocket rounds, and it's because some people complain about it because they, the whole let them cook kind of thing. Like, people like longer rounds and stuff. But for me, it's selling the product to TV and selling the product to viewers is a big thing. So we do 6-minute rounds, 6-minute matches with a 1-minute sudden death overtime. So first point, first takedown, whatever it happens to be.
Like a golden score.
Golden score, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of what we do. Completely submission only inside the cage. And then the 1-minute overtime, and you can get guys to stall or whatever, but it doesn't happen too often, man. To be honest, inside the cage, like, they like to move, and the wall, like the cage, makes a big difference. Like, you submission underground. I think, did you compete on one for Chael, or?
Yeah,
I thought so. Yeah, so you know all about it.
Yeah, in Portland.
Yeah, is he still doing them or no?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think since, like, the whole Fight Pass thing, I think it's more about the Fight Pass Invitational now. I don't really see submission underground events happening.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pushing hard, the UFC. It's good to see.
Yeah, in your overtimes, are you allowed to pull guard?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
And then it's first point or submission wins.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not against golden score. I actually think it's pretty good, as long as it's not fucking EBI rule set. Like, I can't stand the overtime rounds. I think it's so silly.
Yeah, I agree, man. I've always thought that. Like, to me, it's like, I don't understand. Like I just, and I don't have anybody that can do that rule, like, as a judge or a ref, who, like, because we don't do it out here, right? So it's like, I don't have anybody who I feel confident enough to be the official that could, or judge that could actually do it right. Like, that's a big thing in matches. Like, I like, for me, it's like, have the right officials is huge. It's massive. Like, to have somebody know what they're doing. No, and it's submission only, right? But, like, our officials that we use for our kumite are officials that we use for MMA. So they're like guys who've done the UFC events or whatever, right? And they have the right posture in there, the right control, confidence, that kind of thing, to control the match, and that's important.
Yeah, I've heard of some promotions doing, they'll only give overtime if the match is somewhat close. So if it's a blowout and one athlete has just dominated the whole match, they won't even do overtime. They'll be like, no, there's no, you have to earn overtime, basically, is I guess what I'm saying, which I actually think is pretty good. I think that's a pretty good.
Well, CFFC does something similar in MMA. Like, instead of doing 5 rounds, like we went down there last year and they had a title fight. Instead of 5 rounds, it was 4. And I was like, "Why'd you do that?" And they're like, "Well, because the other guy dominated the other 4 rounds. So why would we go to a 5th?"
This was in MMA.
Yeah. So I was like, "Oh,
Really?
it actually makes sense. Really, like the other guy kicked the shit out of the guy for 4 rounds. Like, why would you do 5?"
What's the reasoning? Fighter safety?
They just said, like, the amount, the percentage of the chance that person's going to come back is like so nil that it's like we just do 4 rounds. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay, I never thought about it.
Never heard of that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you find as a promoter it's more difficult to get people excited about the gi?
Yeah, and I don't think it's less exciting, like, to watch necessarily.
But you do jiu-jitsu. You're a black belt, so you can appreciate it.
It's boring to watch, like completely boring to watch. And between you and I, Matt, like, half the time when I'm sitting there in any MMA or anything, now half the time I'm doing something else because it's my job. So it's like you're focused on so many other things, and you've seen so many matches. It's like I'm looking at dealing with something else. But like gi, man, like we had one gi match on Kumite 4 that was actually quite exciting. And Presley, he did an exciting gi match. So it depends on the people a little bit, I think, too. But I think, again, like people always talk about, oh, I want to grow the sport. I want to grow the sport, blah, blah, blah. You know, that tagline of grow the sport. And I said it a million times myself. And I think the best way to do that is no gi jiu-jitsu, just period. Because people can understand and relate to it. They just think it's wrestling. So
more exciting.
Definitely more exciting. It's you can move more. You know, people understand it, I think, a little bit more, but it's the transitions, all of it, I think it's, but I think a lot of it too, like I'm not a big guard pulling fan. Like, unless if you make grips or if you're shooting for a submission or shoot, like, things happen, but like just sitting guard, like that, you can't do that in our event at all. You can't just sit guard.
Oh, really?
No.
How do you pull? You're not allowed?
You can pull, but you have to have contact. So you have to have 2 hands.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it's just those, like, back in the day, people would just like sit at the beginning of the match, right? Which is, you're in the cage. So for us, we're like, to get people to understand what's going on. If they're just sitting, they're going to be like, what the fuck is happening? So anyway, and it just forces the wrestling a little bit more too in the cage. And so, but we do have lots of guard pullers, and there's, I know a couple guys that are going to pull guard this event too.
Love pulling guard. Always pull guard.
I know you do. Your nasty lag locks, man. Very good.
It's funny. Sorry, excuse me. I've been coughing.
Yeah.
It's funny you say nasty leg locks, because back when I did your show, it was kind of a time when, like, not a lot of people knew leg locks. It was kind of still in that infancy of, like, this was a time when Gordon Ryan was, not really, he wasn't really anything back then. And, like, if you knew a couple of heel hooks, like, you would just go in there and dominate. And I was actually talking to a student last night. I was like, man, I miss those days. Those are the good old days where you could just spam leg locks. But now it's like any serious competitor has put some effort into understanding leg attacks. It's just the way the sport keeps moving on. And then every year we see there's a new position, there's a new leg entanglement or whatever. We're going to wrap it up pretty quickly here. I just wanted to ask some competitive competition jiu-jitsu questions with current matchups. First of all, who do you think can beat Gordon Ryan?
I don't know, man. I think Nicky Rod might be able to give him a go as this continues, maybe. Nicky Rod, I think, is just getting so much better all the time. And I also think, I don't think you'd ever, I don't know if you'd ever see it happen. But who's that young new guy who's taking everybody out? I think they competed before Tackett. Like,
Oh, William?
Yeah, did he not give him a really good run for his money before?
Have they fought? I
Maybe
don't
they
know.
haven't fought
Maybe.
before. Maybe they haven't fought before.
I
But
mean, William just won West Coast trials.
yeah,
Um,
like, and that's like a far fetch. But like, I just look at these guys who are like, with Gordon's kind of the way everything he's dealing with now, and like these guys just coming, getting better and better and better and bigger and bigger. Like, you know, time is nobody's friend, right? So
no, absolutely. And I think Gordon, his health concerns are definitely catching up to him. It seems like I don't even know how long he's going to be competing for.
he looks
I
like when I
appreciate every
met him.
time. What's that?
He looks right now like when I met him when he was a purple belt.
Yeah, he's lost some size, right?
Yeah, it's
His
sad to see.
body is just the abuse and questionably whatever you want to say, like steroids, or maybe it's an autoimmune thing, who knows. But
Yeah.
one thing's for sure is his organs aren't working the way that he needs them to work, for a sustainable period. So I wouldn't be surprised if if he can't compete for much longer, honestly, because I know what it's like when your insides are starting to shut down and you have systemic issues. It's very hard to continue at the higher levels, right?
Well, and he's accomplished a lot. Like, and again, going back that competitive nature of a lot of people, but the guy's accomplished a lot and he's done a lot for the sport. Love him to hate him or whatever. He's brought lot of eyes to the sport, big time. And yeah, it's like I don't know anything about his situation, to be honest. I don't even follow him, or like pay attention to. I hear it from my coaches a lot, but I wish the guy the best, man. It's scary to see when that kind of stuff. You got a long life to live, man. You got to look after yourself. And his family came here out to Pictou. He didn't end up coming, but Nicky Ryan came out and competed on his first pro match out here. And his mom, Trish, came out with him, and everything. Great people, man. So hopefully he's doing all right.
What about Mika Galvao? Who do you think can beat him?
Oh yeah. Wasn't he banned too at one point, or no?
I mean, yeah, he was caught, I guess, using illegal substances, and IBJJF banned him.
IBJJF banned. Um, oh man, what about one of the Rotolo brothers?
Maybe. I mean, Cade did beat him at the last ADCC. And either of those guys fighting him interests me. The Rotolos, the date that this is recording this weekend, they're both grappling in 1FC. I forget who Cade's fighting, but Ty Rotolo's got that Isaac Michel guy, and that's going to be a great fight too. So I don't know, honestly, who could beat Mika. I would love to see Craig Jones fight Mika. I would love to see Gordon Ryan fight Mika. As far as a submission sniper, it seems that nobody is on the level of Mika Galvao, and also I think just pound for pound, he appears to be like the strongest, probably the strongest guy in grappling.
How old would he be now, too? 20?
Think so.
Man,
it's insane.
Man, that is insane, man. But not to forget your guys out there. You mentioned that Harrison Woods, man. Like, he is super talented. Very talented.
He is.
Like, you guys got a really good group of killers out there in West Coast. Like, the scene is really, really, like, there's a ton of athletes out there doing very well.
Yeah, they make me want to quit competing, honestly. What do you think about Mirigali and Wagner Hosha? That just got announced like a week ago. It's going to be a blowout or what?
Nogi or Gi? Gi, I would assume.
Nogi.
Nogi. Yeah, Wagner's a beast for sure. I got a funny Wagner Rocha story. Back in the day, he asked, we were doing our events, he asked us to sponsor him. So I sent him a certain amount of money to sponsor him, to have our Submission Series logo on his shorts and rash guard kit. Being naive, okay, I could send him in the logo or whatever. And it was on for I think he was a super fight or ADCC, or I can't remember what he was competing in. Anyway, I thought it was like the only like set that was going to be made. He took it and he sold 100 sets of rash guards and shorts, and made.
So he didn't use the money. What you said he's gonna use it for?
Oh, he did, but I just didn't realize like that's how it worked. Like, he didn't really do anything wrong, but I was like, oh shit, like I gave you this amount of money, so I thought I was sponsoring you, but really you took that and you used all that money and bought gear and then sold all the gear and made even more money. I was like, oh fuck, okay, that was smart as hell. I didn't even realize, it's just how things work, right? But at first I was like, oh man, you ripped me off. But it wasn't all. It's just how the business worked, right? Like you're a sponsor, and I'm going to
Yeah.
make rash guard kits and sell them, right? But at first I was like, oh, so mad. But um, yeah, like he's a tough competitor. He's always game, but like you're taking on probably like I don't know, one of the top two or three guys in the world, I would say at this point, eh? So, what do you think?
I mean, I think Miragali has shown that, like right now, really the only guy that I think challenges Gordon is Miragali, and it's a fight that we're not going to see because they're buddies.
Yeah,
I think on paper Miragali has to win this, but don't count out Wagner because he's incredibly tough, like you said, and he's a legend. He's a veteran. He's been in the game a long time. I think he could cause a lot of problems for anyone. He just fought who's one of their younger athletes there in New Wave? Was it Luke Griffith?
yeah,
I think.
yeah.
He fought him and just destroyed him.
Wow.
It wasn't even close. So size I don't think matters that much with him. I've seen him, he's walking around probably like 210, 220 these days. He's not, his 77 pound or 77 kilo days are over, and he's getting older, and he's just, I think, getting as strong as he can.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's close the show with a couple of ADCC predictions. So the ADCC Worlds is this year. Who do you think is going to be, who's going to win or be on the podium for these divisions? Let's start in the 66 kilogram division. Who do you got?
Oh man, I haven't paid attention to jiu-jitsu at all, to be honest, Matt. Give me some names and I'll pick. That's obviously the biggest one,
the
right?
champion is Diogo Hayes, his nickname is Baby Shark. I actually think there's a kid in there. I've spoken about him on the podcast. His name is Dorian Oliveras, and he won East Coast trials. And he's 17 years old, and he's friggin' insane. Like all multiple time All-American wrestling champion. He's the combat jiu-jitsu bantamweight champion.
Wow.
He won no-gi pans at blue or purple. He's just fucking insane, and he won trials, East Coast trials. He smoked everyone. So even guys like Ethan Krelliston, who is one of the higher level 66 kilogram athletes in the world, he beat him. Like beat him up in trials and like really put it on him. So for me, I think Dorian is definitely getting on the podium. Just his style, I think, is going to be very difficult for people to deal with, especially guard players. They're going to have issues dealing with him in the 66 kilogram division. Then there's Kennedy Maciel, that's Cobrinha's son.
Yep.
He just won the pans in the gi. DeAndre Corbe. I don't know if you've heard of those brothers, DeAndre and Gavin. DeAndre just won West Coast trials. He's actually a Canadian too. I just realized today.
Oh, cool.
So those are a couple of names that I'm looking for in that division.
Nice. Cool. I was going to mention Ethan because I knew that was his division, and he just won, right, at the West Coast trials, I believe.
He has won West Coast trials before, but I think he
Or maybe that was
he did
Karate
not win
Combat.
this year.
That was Karate Combat Pit thing I saw. He was just competing in. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
So
yes, yeah, he's super good. I'm not sure that he'll win the World Championship, but I could see him getting on the podium for sure. Kind of depends how they see the divisions too, right? The 77 kilogram division is probably the one that I'm most looking forward to. It's the one that I would compete under that weight class, and it's like probably the deepest. So JT Torres got an invite, Nicky Ryan, and Andrew Tackett, the middle Tackett brother. He just won West Coast trials last week. Plus there's other guy, Jonathan Gracie, who's a beast. He, smashed Nicky Ryan when they fought on Fight Pass Invitational. Joseph Chen, Tommy Langaker. I mean, it's just like a who's who of killers. I think this Elijah Dorsey guy who just won East Coast trials, he's actually really friggin' good. I think he's, he hasn't won ADCC before, but man, he was smashing people at East Coast trials. He's super good. Of course, JT Torres is always a safe bet, but he lost to PJ Barch the last ADCC, and PJ Barch is a killer too. So I could see him winning that division as well.
He's still kicking around, competing.
PJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just won that Polaris Pro Invitational that Harrison was on. Yeah, he won that. So he took out Espin, I think.
Okay.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, Espin.
He took out Levi Leary Jones. I mean, he's friggin' really good.
Awesome. Good to see you, man.
88 division. I mean, I see the podium is probably going to be, I think, Ty Rotolo, even though he lost to Josh Hinger last ADCC. Like, I don't think anybody predicted that.
Yeah.
I think it would just be because Josh Hinger probably knows him from when he was a little kid, and he knows his game so well that he was able to kind of use that experience against him. But I think Ty Rotolo has a good chance of winning. Jacob Couch, Isaac Michel, these are guys that I think that are going to win. And for those of you who are in ADCC pools, like I'm in an ADCC pool, it's important to understand that the way that they seed the bracket will also influence who you should pick, right? Because, it doesn't make sense for you to pick like the top 3 seeds because they're probably going to potentially could knock each other out, right?
Yeah.
We don't know how the brackets are going to be seeded, so we got to sort of think about that.
Who does that? Is there a board, or is it just Mo and like Tom?
No, I just what do you mean? Who does the pools?
Yeah, who does the seeding?
Just me and my buddies.
No, for the actual tournament. Does it go based
who does the seeding?
Yeah.
I think it's Mo, I think.
Interesting.
He probably has a board of people that he talks to, and also a guy that I think is going to do a lot of damage. So let's talk under 99 kilogram. I think Mason Fowler is going to do a lot of damage. I think he's just been getting better and better every time. I actually really wanted to see Mason versus Gordon, and then that match didn't happen.
He called
due to
for
health
it
issues
a
or
lot,
whatever.
though.
What's that?
He called for it a lot, asking for it.
Yeah, he's called for it a lot. Mason's super good, but I mean, that's Kynan's division. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to beat him, but I guess that's also where Miragali's going to be. And Miragali smoked Kynan last time they fought. So, man, just talking about these matches, I'm super excited about it.
Are you going this year? Are you going to go check it out?
I'm not going. No, I'm not. I'll be watching from home with like 3 monitors or whatever. But yeah, I do know people that went to the last one. They said it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then lastly, real quick, there's the 99 kilogram division. I assume Gordon's going to be in it again like last year. Hopefully he's healthy enough to do that. But guys like Victor Hugo in there, that's the only guy that Gordon didn't submit at the last ADCC championships. And Victor Hugo, man, that last match with Nicky Rod, fuck, he looks so good. Like just using like classic closed guard, like old school jiu-jitsu, throwing up attacks from the closed guard. Victor is seriously sick. And then guys like Big Dan, I don't know that Big Dan can win at the world championship level because we have seen some lackluster opponents when he goes against like the best of the best guys. Yeah. But yeah. And then of course, Mike Perez, who is
crazy.
This guy's like a 7. You saw that, eh? He's like a 77 kilogram guy, wins 99 plus division at West Coast Trials last weekend. That's just, or does that just say that like the talent in that division isn't as deep? I don't know.
He's been competing forever. Is he still at Atos?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe he is. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun later on in the year when that's happening. Kat, that's all I got for you. Anything you want to say, or is there links or
well,
anything
first
you
of
want to
all,
promote before you get out of here?
I want to thank you for the platform, man. You do an incredible job. I take a listen to this every couple of weeks. I download a couple episodes, and I love listening to it. It's nice to listen to people that you know in the scene doing their thing. And Presley does a great job out here. He kind of does a similar thing out here, and I know you guys had a good episode there together. So this kind of stuff's important, man, and I appreciate you doing it. And FightLeagueAtlantic.com event next weekend. So it's a double event weekend. We do Friday night Submission Kumite, Saturday night Fight League Atlantic 14, and we do those twice a year. So our next one's in September. We do them April and September every year, and hopefully we can get you out here for a main event sometime.
Fuck, that would be awesome. I got to get back into shape though. Got to get serious about training here before compete before I'm a little bit too old.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for us today, guys. So again, if you want to support the show, the links are in the bottom. Other than that, Kat Clarke, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate the chat.
Right back at you, sir. Keep doing great things. Thanks for your help.
All right. Remember, Everyday Jiu Jitsu Podcast is everything you need to know about Jiu Jitsu. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.